My name is Susan Jarboe, and we have an interesting panel discussion today. I'd like to introduce my colleagues, Karen from Colorado, Cathy from here, and also Reverend Linda. Today's subject is actually going to be about a line of thought or a philosophy that had its origins in Africa. However, I think you'll find that it has surprising correlations with unity beliefs and philosophy. Before we get into that, let me offer a prayer. Heavenly Parent, we come before you today in humility and faith. We thank you for all you have given us and the many blessings in our lives. We ask for your guidance and strength. Show us the way and fill us with courage and wisdom. Help us to remember your love and grace and to be faithful in our service to you. Give us the patience and understanding to face life's challenges with grace. We ask these things in your name. Amen. My fellow panelists know, and some of you in the audience may also know, that I attend a church just down the street from Unity, the Presbyterian Church on the Circle. And one of the things we do in every service is we have a children's message. And different members of the congregation volunteer to do this, and they have some sort of interactive little thing that they do with the children. The one on this last Sunday, I'm talking about yesterday, I guess, um, really struck me. And the woman who did it uh, brought flowers, and the flowers were sunflowers. And so she was asking the children, do you know about sunflowers? And of course they said, oh yeah, sunflower seeds are really good. And she says, well, what do sunflowers do? And they said, they follow the sun over the course of the day. And then she said, but what if it's gray or dark or raining? What do they do then? Silence. And then she gave the answer. They turn to face each other. Now, I had never known that about sunflowers, but that fits right in with what I want to talk about today. And as you know, I draw greatly from Richard Rohr's Center for Action and Contemplation. And I want to talk about a philosophy of Ubuntu. Ubuntu. And if you don't mind, I'll just spell it for you in case you'd like to look it up. Ubuntu. There's also some technological applications that are labeled Ubuntu, but that's a different thing. I want to read from two people, and I'll introduce the first one. Author Mungi Ngomane's work has centered on Middle East peace and conflict resolution, the advancement of the rights of women and girls, and the philosophy of Ubuntu in partnership with a range of international organizations and initiatives. She explores the lessons of Ubuntu she learned from her grandfather, Bishop Desmond Tutu. And she writes, if we are able to see ourselves in other people, our experience in the world will inevitably be a richer, kinder, more connected one. If we look at others and see ourselves reflected back, we inevitably treat people better. This is Ubuntu. Ubuntu should not be confused with kindness, however. Kindness is something we might try to show more of, but Ubuntu goes much deeper. It recognizes the inner worth of every human being, starting with yourself. Ubuntu tells us we are only who we are thanks to other people. Of course, we have our parents to credit for bringing us into the world, but beyond this, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of relationships, big and small along the way, which teach us something about life and how to live it well. Our parents or guardians teach us how to walk and talk. Our teachers at school teach us how to read and write. A mentor might help us find fulfilling work. A lover might teach us emotional lessons, both good and bad. We learn from all experiences. Every interaction will have brought us to where we are today. Now I'm going to read from theologian Dr. Michael Battle. He is known for seminars, webinars, and speaking engagements. He invites students to explore the transformative power of reconciliation and peace building in a world often marked by division and conflict. Drawing from his extensive experience as a scholar, priest, and peace advocate, his writings illuminate pathways to healing and understanding in both personal and communal contexts. He reflects on the spirituality of Ubuntu as follows. Ubuntu is a difficult worldview for many Westerners who tend to understand self as over and against others, or as in competition with others. In a Western worldview, interdependence may easily be confused with codependence, a pathological condition in which people share a dependence on something that is not life-giving, such as alcohol or drugs. Ubuntu, however, is about symbiotic and cooperative relationships, neither the parasitic and destructive relationships of codependence, nor the draining and alienating relationships of competition. Perhaps Desmond Tutu put it best when he said, "A person with Ubuntu is open and available to others, affirming of others, does not feel threatened that others are able and good, for he or she has a proper self-assurance that comes from knowing that he or she belongs in a greater whole, and is diminished when others are humiliated or diminished. Our planet cannot survive if we define our identity only through competition. If I know myself as strong only because someone else is weak, if I know myself as a Black person only because someone else is white, then my identity depends on a perpetual competition that only leaves losers. If I know myself as a man only by dominating women, if I know myself as a Christian only because someone else is going to hell, then both my masculinity and my Christianity are devoid of content. Rather than reinforcing competitive ways of knowing self, Ubuntu offers a way of discovering self-identity through interdependence. As such, it is possible to argue that my very salvation is dependent on yours. Radical stuff for Western ears to hear, yet vital to the survival of the earth. Most of what I have heard about relating to other people has emphasized empathy and compassion and caring. What Ubuntu says is not look for the Christ in other people, look for yourself in other people. And that's the way to build relationships. So just as a sunflower can look at another sunflower and see itself, so we can look at other people and find pieces of ourself within them. Cathy?
I'll share. I think I really like this. It was an awakening for me about the fact that, like the sunflowers turning towards each other during the darkest and dismal time when they don't have the sun to follow, they have each other to look towards each other. And I thought that was such a great metaphor for looking at the aspect of when we need to turn to each other and we need to see each other. I just, that really just hit me about the fact of like, when it seems the darkest and grayest is how can we turn towards each other. And then the whole thing with Ubuntu, it's like talking about kindness is like, that's an action. That is being something and acting out something that you're doing for others. But to see the fact that, to see people who they are, and that really a part of you is a part of them, and that you both see, have that same traits. It's not like seeing the Christ in them. It's like, well, do you see the Christ in yourself? So you have to see yourself first to be able to see others. And a lot of times they say, the mirror effect. If there's something about somebody that you're not getting along with, or I'm not, connecting with this person, is like, what is it? How do they mirror me? What is it about myself that I'm not connecting with? How am I seeing them that is really in me? So it's so often that mirror reflection is that sometimes that person is reflecting back things about yourself, but also that's on a negative side of it is, but on the positive side, do we often see when there's somebody that you're really attracted to because you like their personality, that they're very upbeat, or they have this thing, is like, is that sort of you're attracted to them because you're envious, you wish you had those skills, you wish you were that? Or is it just that that's really inside of you and you see that in them? And so that's an interesting aspect of looking at when you see other people, you see who they are, where they are. And I also many times try to go, walk a mile in my shoes. Mm-hmm. Is when I see a different point of view than I have, is I try to step into their shoes and understand, where they were coming from, or what, was their motivating factor, or what had happened. I'm one of these people that and many people, I've been criticized by many people, but after the mass shootings, especially in the schools, I have a tremendous amount of empathy for the children that lost their lives, for the parents that lost their children. But I also step into the shoes of the shooter. What was going on in that person's life that they disregarded human beings that much? What trauma pushed them to that? And I try to see into them what would cause somebody to want to create have so much hatred in their life that they would take innocent children and just gun them down. So a lot of times I step into that perspective of, what was this person? Because not only most of the time those shooters lose their life along the way, and they probably know this is happening, is that, my life is so worthless that, I don't care that I'm going to perish with this. I just, is it that they need to be recognized? They need to hear, be seen or somehow. But that sometimes when I bring that up, I mean, I'm criticized for looking at that point because, my hearts do go out to those families and those children that never got a chance to live their life. And I can feel their pain. But I also feel that other person's pain too. So it's feeling both sides of it. So I think this understanding that connection between the two, or, and two or more are gathered, that connection that we have with each and every other person is like seeing them. You're seeing yourself and seeing the part of you. So thank you for bringing that up, Susan. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
And Cathy, I think you're using that exactly right when they say to see yourself in the other person. I love this topic and I love the philosophy. And seriously, this is the issue I have with sports. My husband loves all sports, and I just want nothing to do with them. When somebody loses, everybody loses. I think the win-win is the only kind of competition that matters. So I like the surfing and the things where people are competing against their best time and their very best. I believe that human beings have a tendency to fear and even hate things they don't understand. People that don't look like them, cultures that don't represent the same things that their culture does, and being able to see the person inside, whatever it is, the skin, the tradition, the culture is, I believe, I'm probably going to say it wrong anyways, the very thing we're talking about. There's a saying in 12 steps that you should not expect other people to behave the same way that you do when you're in recovery. And the saying is, don't expect me in you. And it's the expectations is the problem. And what that means is not to judge people for being late when you would never be late, or not to judge them for doing something in a way that you wouldn't do them. And it's the expectation that makes that wrong. If, and you were on this, Cathy, this is the way I use it. If instead I were to say, what would be happening in my life to make me behave that way? Or what might be happening to me that would actually make me be late? And that's where we reach that understanding. I don't know what's actually happening in somebody else's life, but I am acknowledging there are things that could happen that would have me acting in the very same way. And it opens the door to compassion and learning and understanding. So thank you, Susan, for bringing this topic. That's all I got.
I would love to share. I love the topic, the readings, and what you shared, Susan, and what you shared, Cathy and Linda, it's so much of what I wanted to say. And it's like the things that I wrote down were seeing self in others, competition, codependency, not only in another person, but codependency in beliefs and values. Right, wrong, power, very powerful. Look for yourself in others, never expect, and jokes making fun of other people. And it's like right now, I mean, I'm in the, well, the world is in a state of right, wrong, codependency, judging, expectations, all of the things that we're talking about. And I know that when I first got into Al-Anon, it was like, well, whenever you're pointing a finger, there's three pointing back. And so every time I hear a criticism, it's like, well, there's three fingers pointing back. So I best keep my mouth shut, not criticize, because it's a reflection of me. I'm seeing something that I have not dealt with inside myself. And then also, it's like the time right now, there's so much making fun, making snarly remarks and jokes and condescending remarks about others. And that's such a reflection of low self-esteem for the one making them. So it's like, well, so I can't do that. It's kind of, well, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't expect. But it has opened me, since I'm not either or, I'm working on being, who am I? Not who my parents told me I was, not who the church told me I was, not what a religion told me I was, but who am I? When I'm going out to do something, is it to get approval? Is it to look good? Is it to just all of those other phony things? It's like that I learned from growing up. You don't talk, you don't think, you got to act right. For God's sake, don't talk about how you're really feeling or what somebody else might think of what you're saying. So, I mean, I hit way beyond middle age going, I have not a clue who I am. So I've been able to look at a lot of things over the last few years differently, like looking or reading or listening to somebody I'd never listened to. And boy, have I learned a lot about their family. Oh, well, they aren't all crooks or robbers or whatever. I've gotten to see their family in action. It's like, oh, I've gotten to listen to a lot of lies and criticisms. And then I have to fact check and look and see, well, is that really true? Where is that information coming from? And it's, I really detest this right, wrong thing. It's got, where is the unity? And it seems like we've lost unity, the best in both. So, and just to summarize my weird rambling, it's like my parents. Oh my God, there's one thing I knew for sure. I hated them both. But in older age, it's like I've been able to take both of them, the best of both of them, and put it together. I've done both of their careers. I've done it. It's like taking the best. Doesn't mean that I have to like them. I love them. I'm alive. Obviously, they must have given me good health because I'm going to be 80 next month. So I'm still here. I should be dead. I've almost died enough times. But it's like, how do we bring together the best of both to have unity when there's so much division and codependency? And how do I let go of everything I thought I knew for a new experience and new information? Because the older I am, I realize how much I don't know. So thank you for the incredible topic. And thank you for everybody's shares.
Well, you're very welcome. And I would just like to offer a couple of follow-up comments based on what you all have said. And I want to go back to Cathy's remarks about mass shooters and feeling for the mass shooter as well as for everybody else in the situation. It's like, in that case, I think of the yin yang symbol. There's always a little bit of black in the white and always a little bit of white in the black. But some people would never be able to say there's a piece of this evil person that I can relate to. that I can see myself, a piece of myself in that person. And there are some people who are never going to be able to do that. And I liked what you said, Karen, about, where is the unity? And Ubuntu, if you do it, we have unity with everyone because we see a bit of ourselves in that person. And Linda, I liked your comments on competition. When I was living in Madison, I was part of an organization called the Center for Conflict Resolution. And we did various kinds of training programs and interventions, mainly for schools and nonprofit organizations. And we were funded by the United Way. Well, one of the things that our group did was we would teach teachers cooperative games that did not have competition and where everybody worked as a group, to do something or accomplish something. And one of the, for instance, there was one where a child is in a blanket and everybody's holding the blanket and they bounce the child up and down and they count how many times we can do this. And so it isn't about any one person winning, it's the group. Well, the story I just told you, I have told in my college classrooms. And one time, one man spoke up and said, after my blanket example, he spoke up and said, well, that's no fun. So we are taught that competition is the way to go. And again, there are people who won't be able to see that. They just won't be able to see it. Well, thank you very much for your careful listening to this subject. I'm very glad you liked it. And I want to say to you, our listeners, I would love to hear what you think of Ubuntu. So if you have any comments, please do let us know. If you thought this session what might be useful to other people, feel free to share the link with them. And if you like this and other things that we do, please consider being a subscriber to this organization. If you have ideas for us, things you would like us to address, maybe things you think are really important or things that you're confused about, please let us know. And we'd love to have you as a panelist, either on a regular basis like we all are, or maybe just a one-shot deal. Maybe there's something you really want to tell people or talk with people about. We welcome guest speakers. And if you are interested in that, you can contact the Unity Church of El Cajon. There's information coming up about how you might do that. So thank you again for your patient listening. And to our listeners out there, thank you for listening as well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.